Welcome back, guys, to my channel. Well, I did it. I finished The Mammoth that is Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin. And let me tell you that I thought this just did season 3. No, it's like season 4, maybe 5. So, yeah, I'm look at all those tabs. So today I'm just going to talk about my experience reading the book, talking about the show a little bit, and talking about adaptation and what makes a good adaptation. Why? One of the reasons I just love this series, so I wanted to read the books. But another thing that was boggling my mind was how did we get such a perfect adaptation of this with having the lens of knowing how to write screenplays and stuff like that. So a couple things to know. I am going to spoil this. This book is going to be fully spoiled. I would say if you haven't read this book, I love you. Thank you for coming. I will see you in the next video, and I promise it's in something that is not going to be fully spoiled. Or if you haven't seen like seasons up to 5, at least, if not 6. Now I know why people were mad about one character being taken out. We will get to her. I think she's going to be a really interesting character. I'm thinking I'm going to see her more in book 4 or 5. You know who I'm talking about. I will get to her. But what was this like? So we got a couple different perspectives. I finally got Jamie's perspective, Daros, and then our favorites, Tyrion, Jon. I don't think Sam's been in all of them. I can't remember book 2, to be honest. And Arya, and Sansa. But Daros and Jamie's, I'm so glad they added Jamie's perspective in here, especially at a certain scene we will get to. The books, to me, are like this. What enhances the books comparable to the show is that inner monologue. So I'm just going to jump right to it. I'm going to just talk about the Red Wedding right here, right now. So something intense about the Red Wedding when you watch it is you're at a wedding, we have expectations. We are not expecting people to get totally massacred at a wedding. Obviously they do. This is actually, so if you don't know this about Game of Thrones, this is about War of the Roses. So yeah, people did get murdered at a wedding. I guess maybe somebody got poisoned at a wedding. And just the inner monologue to Catelyn before she dies, and then you have Arya's inner monologue. And the closeness that you feel when Arya is like, she's literally looking at the castle that her whole family is getting slaughtered in. And the inner monologue was, I was so close. And you can feel the change in Arya right there. Is like she goes from this little girl that wanted to fight, wanted to be a soldier, and now she understands the consequences. And yes, she does see Ned getting his head chopped off. She sees some of this other stuff going on, but I feel like this was a big, huge turning point for her. And she's actually legit part of the chaos. She can hear Rob's wolf howling. Oh, and Bran, there's a Bran perspective. I always forget that he exists. I do apologize. But anyway, you just feel the intention. So when you're watching it on the screen, you're not getting that inner monologue. You're just getting the scene as it is. So it doesn't, this is going to sound so bad, guys. It doesn't impact me as much in the show as it did in the books because you can feel the end. So you're watching Catelyn through Catelyn's eyes, watching Robb die, and then she gets her throat slashed, and then end. And then you're seeing Arya look at the situation, be like, my family's in there, and then the Hound is like, no, we need to go. And that to me is just, it's a beautiful, dreadful scene. Because it is this graphic, horrific scene of death, but it's so many turning points to the story. So, like Ned getting his head chopped off in the first season and then the first book, this is the second turning point in the series to me. And I feel like even Sansa grows from this. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of how I feel about each perspective here in a little bit. But I feel like Arya and Sansa, this is their turning point in the book. So you know kind of where each of the girls are headed by the time this book ends. And how they feel about the world, how their views have changed. I love Arya. I don't like Sansa as much. And that's kind of my opinion through the whole series. She does grow. She becomes a lot more resourceful, understanding. I think between her learnings from Cersei and her learnings from Lord Baelish, she understands how to play the game. Very well by the end of the series. And yes, when I'm talking about this, I am looking ahead into the last couple of seasons. Once I get a little bit further in the books, we'll kind of do some talk when I get there. But as of right now, this is the second turning point. And I did not know how much he packed into this third book. Because the next thing I want to talk about is, I think I'm going to talk about Jaime. Jaime, oh my goodness. His character arc is beautiful, and I really, really hope that we get some redemption arc for him in the books. I really hope that George R. R. Martin does not do that to Jaime or Cersei. He is a black horse. Jaime is such a black horse. With Brienne of Tarth, I really think that is who Jaime is. I really think obviously the Mad King was doing bad things. We don't see it. That's the thing about Jaime, and the worst thing he's ever done, we don't see as an audience. So we're taking his word about what he said. And that's in both the book and the show. We never see this scene. We just hear it from Jaime's mouth and based off of what happened. And as an audience member, you take from book one after the whole thing with Bran. So he is just not a character that's fairly believable in the audience eyes. So everything that he does, we are going to judge, and probably not in a positive light because of the thing that happened in the first book. Now, can you take it? Because I watched the scene again, and this is the thing I love about visual media that I just don't think a book can really express. Is actors are wonderful things. If you watch the scene with Bran, Cersei, and Jaime in the tower, you see Jaime having a questionable look before Cersei's like, and then he throws Bran out of a window. So, is he stupid? A little bit. Jaime is a little bit stupid because having Cersei as your guardian of what should I do for what's right and wrong, probably not the best idea. And then you have Tywin, that's a whole different matter, and he didn't help his children at all either. So when I think about that scene, in the show and in the book, you have to ask yourself as an audience and as a reader, if he brought Bran into the room and told Bran not to say anything, like what would have happened, story-wise. Now, we have that drama, and then we have what Ned Stark finds out in the first book, which is the illegitimacy of so we could have had a different catalyst that wasn't Bran being thrown from a window. Now, did that change the way that Bran's character went? Of course it did, because, and I don't know how far George thought about that character. I'm going to talk about Bran now. Bran is an interesting character, and his story arc is, if you like the magic portion of Game of Thrones, you're gonna like Bran's storyline. If you're more in it for the politics, you're not gonna like Bran's storyline. I'm just gonna be honest. Bran's storyline to me is really boring until he gets with everybody else. The three-eyed raven stuff, the warding into the wall, I'm here for the political fantasy and the dragons. And not much else. So when you're talking like the prophecies and stuff like that, I'm not really here for that. So I could take it or leave it with Bran's POV, to be honest. And when he does it later down the line, I'm just, you could have died falling from that thing. That would have been okay. I just don't like Bran's character. Don't like his like where he ends up and everything. He and Sam's point of view, oh my goodness. I love Sam in the show. This is why you don't want to be in somebody's head, is dealing with Sam in that scene where he's walking across past the wall. I was like, I did not need this. I didn't need this. I didn't need the complaining. I didn't need any of that. And then Gilly, I love her to death in the show, but it's just, I know why, because how are you going to explain Gilly being at the wall? But I'm just like, really, George? Really? You could have thought of some other way. Maybe like he meets John and then they walk back to the wall together. I don't know. But can we just skip Sam's and Bran's storyline? I didn't. Those were like the parts that were taking me out of this book. I love every other thing of these books and of the show, but those two things I was like, I can't. And like, after reading this, and then I've been slowly rewatching the first season. It's kind of a snail's pace. But I see that Sam's a little bit more whiny now, and the narrator did not help him. So the narrator of the story, if you listen to the audiobooks, is a 70-year-old white man that does all the voices, and it's a horrible time. Okay, so there's your review on the audiobook. Oh my goodness, who do I want to play with next, adaptation-wise? And George, their settings are easy. He does not, what I love about his writing that I would take into my own writing is when you're describing something like a setting or like an object, he is very simple when he is explaining something. So he does not talk about something for 20 minutes, for 20 pages. He is more of like, this is the setting, this is what's going to happen. So and this is something like, if you also don't know, George R. R. Martin started as a a script writer for a TV show called Beauty and the Beast. He might have done things before, but that's just the first thing I know him of. And so he took that and he knows how to put you in a scene. And that is why I think it's so easy. He pretty much wrote these transitions for people. He was like, oh, you just need to go down a road that's a little grassy. Like, he made it very, very simple for these people, minus that you have to travel millions of miles to get to some of these places because they don't exist in a lot of areas, mostly in America. I don't think they filmed here. Yeah, they mostly filmed in Europe, and then I think some of it's green screen, like definitely like the wall stuff is like I think a lot green screen and stuff like that. But there's a beauty in simplicity. And when you're writing a book that's more character driven than plot driven, I care about what the characters are saying. I don't care about the tree over there and it's green. I don't care, and I don't care anyway. That's just not my idea of a good time. I read Scarlet Letter. I've been there. I've done that. I wrote the paper and then I carried on my little way. But the thing about how he knows how to set up a scene. Like he's like the drums and then the setting up of the red wedding. And I don't know if he also this is on purpose, but the red wedding chapters are very, very short. Like you are reading from I think it's 10, 20 pages. So you're reading from the meetup of like Catelyn Stark and Robb coming to this wedding. You have the actual ceremony itself, it's very short, and then you have the chaos. And it's very, very quick. I don't know how he does it because he had to do the same thing for the purple wedding. I was not expecting both weddings to be in this book. And then you have Oberyn and Oberyn. Yeah, that scene with the mountain. Like, he stuffed this book. But a lot of it is like the turning points for a lot of these characters. So let's talk about the purple wedding and Tyrion. Because why not? So Tyrion is probably everybody's favorite character. I think saying like he's my favorite character is just giving him the love he deserves plus more. So watching him, in this book, you have Tyrion and Sansa's wedding, you have the purple wedding, you have the court scene, you have everything after the fight between the Mountain and Oberyn for trial by combat, and then you have Tyrion killing Tywin and Shay. By the way, I don't like Shay in the books. I feel like she's as irritating as ever. And how the show made her a little bit more tolerable, I have no idea. But good job, show creators. We love you. You are close to my heart. Sorry you didn't get what you needed for the last 2 seasons. But anyway, so Tyrion he was a hero of war, and I kind of blame Tywin for this, which is going to be funny when I talk about another video that I'm doing about Game of Thrones. But Tywin, to me, is the reason why he got blamed in the first place. He's always trying to get rid of Tyrion. Tywin Lannister is the father of Jaime, Cersei, and Tyrion. But yeah, he's always trying to get rid of Tyrion. And there's such a beauty in how he dies. Yeah, he's like going to the bathroom, and then Tyrion grabs him. And I think with George's writing, it came out better. Like, I think it was like a little bit more epic in the book than it was in the show, even though it's kind of a funny scene. Like, if you have the humor of somebody that watches Game of Thrones, like, it's kind of a funny scene because it's like, thank you, you deserved it. But the maneuvers between Tyrion and Tywin are fantastic. The communication between them is fantastic. That trial scene where he's like, you are judging me because I am an imp. Fantastic. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. And I love how Tyrion treats Sansa in the wedding part of this book. It's such, like, he understands how disgusting this is. That this little 13-year-old girl, and the show is not as bad when we see some of these scenes, even though we're like, we think they're like the worst, and then you read them in the books, and then you're like, oh, they're that age. Oh, okay. And it's historically accurate. Like, I have to give George R. Martin that, but obviously you cannot produce that in TV form. They are a lot older, and I am thankful. At the end of the day, I am thankful because, yeah, no, I don't want to see that. But he's like, when you want to, we will. And that is such a feminist ideal. And I think if you take the author and you take a character, Tyrion has to be George R. R. Martin, like, in the book. Because just based off of how George writes women in this book is extraordinary. How he talks about Sansa's growth from, oh, I want to marry Joffrey. Joffrey's so great, to his betrayal and her slowly understanding how the game works, to Arya, where she's like a little child and you're finding out what holding a sword actually means, to Cersei and her figuring out how to be still powerful as being a woman in this society. And then Marjorie Tyrell, her kindness is kind of poison in a lot of ways. She's an interesting character, but the Tyrells don't have a point of view, which I can kind of understand why they don't, because you're seeing them from Sansa's point of view. You see some of it from Tyrion. And I bet once we get Cersei's point of view again, we're probably going to see them from Cersei's point of view. So what this show does really well is, yes, we are seeing scenes from Sansa, but what we're really learning is the actors are portraying these characters, and we're seeing kind of the honor and stuff that the Tyrell family have. I love the Tyrell family. I would say if what happened later on to them did not, I would have been okay with them taking over the throne. I don't feel like they're as bad as some of the other families. Now, who plays the Game of Thrones the best? Probably the Lannisters. The Lannisters have their ways. Let's talk about Dany. So, I have not seen her downfall yet. So, if you've seen the last 2 seasons, I'm not going to spoil it, but you know what happens. So, what I'm looking for in Dany is the break of her sanity. There is this line that has me so focused on her is, you flip a coin and Targaryen is either going to have their sanity or not. So I'm just waiting for that to be revealed to me in the books. People say, I think it's like the 4th or 5th book that people say, you see it. Some people say you see it in the 1st book or 1st season. I don't really see it. I see that, like Sansa, Dany and Sansa are parallels in a lot of different, in some ways, but I think Dany understands a lot more and picks up quicker. So Danny is in Marine, and this is all of the freeing of the slaves. She's Moses, I guess. And what I liked about this is you can see how she knows how to do things. Because when she's trying to get the Unsully and she's like, okay, I'll give you one of my dragons. When I first saw that scene, I freaked out because I'm like, how dare you? And of course it's Drogon, my favorite dragon. He's right behind me. You know, how could you? But she's playing a little bit of a game. And why she would even risk her dragons, that scene frustrates me to this day. And in the books it frustrated me. You can see her rise into power, that rise in respect, that rise in I'm gonna do the right thing, that she's always been wanting to do. She's always been wanting to make sure everybody is and that is why her little side guy, can't think of his name right now. I do apologize. Yeah, I don't know why she keeps him around. He's like a disgusting old guy, like, get rid of him. He's very good looking in the show, and then I think that's why you're sympathetic to him in the show and not in the books. One, she's older, and two, the actress is 18 and above. The character's still not. You get the point. And he's less creepy. They made him less creepy. I'm like, okay, so we tamed it down, and then we have scenes that weren't even there. Double D was on something. I'm not sure what, but they were on something. So that's why I'm like, why did you keep this guy around? But he's a good advisor, so I guess that's why. And then let's talk about who do I want to talk about? Doris? Is that how you pronounce it? Oh my goodness. Tyrion. John. Oh, let's talk about John first. And then I'll talk about Doris. And down below, if you can tell me how to pronounce that guy's name, thank you. John and Ingrid. Oh my goodness. George R. R. Martin knows how to, if he ever finishes this series, he needs to write a romantasy. I need that in my life. Yeah, most romantic love story I've ever had the pleasure of experiencing. And it's between John and Ingrid. Love them so much. And the scene hit so well. It hits in the show. It hits in the books. When she shot with the arrow, kills me every time. The cave scene I think is in an earlier book, guys. But you're sitting there like, well, why did you break your vows? The vows are stupid. The Night Watch needs to get it together because they are like the people that get sent up there is like bastards and criminals. And you're like sitting there like, you're gonna tell these guys not to shiki shiki bang bang? Like, why not? I guess they think they're going to be distracted. And I'm like, okay, I will fake my death and then I will have my watch in. Yeah, bye. That's just like how I feel about, and I know like it's an honor thing. It's the time period, like Salisbury, like, I could go on and on. But, and Arya and Gendry, like I do ship that. I hate how they did it in the show. Moving on. But yeah, it's just like this perfect, like he sees the other side and he sees like these people aren't terrible people. And I think we needed that closure. I think as a viewer we needed to see these barbarian people